All right. So, what is the best skill for general success? Is it sales? He says adaptability. If you were to start over in Africa as a young adult, as you've talked about, and had no skills to begin with, what would be the first skill that you would want to acquire? Not while you're in Africa, but before you'd go. What's the skill?
Yeah. Best skill for general success. That is a great question. I think it's the ability to deal successfully with people.
Hmm.
There was a show on television. It ran about 5 or 6 years, starring Simon Baker, excellent actor, called The Mentalist. Did you ever see that?
I did a great show.
Great show, and very well written, very cleverly written, and to have the abilities that Jane, that was his name, picked up. That's really all you need to get by in life, quite frankly. And you might ask, well, how did this character in The Mentalist pick up these abilities? And of course, abilities are different from skills. Maybe abilities are kind of innate, I mean, not everybody had the ability to do what Einstein did. Okay. But within that context, he grew up in a carnival with people that were always hustling and conning each other and so forth. I think there's something to be said for living in that environment for a period of time. In fact, I'd say that riding the rails for a year here in the US and living in missions and sleeping in St. Francis de Paul societies and things like that, that's a great way to pick up practical street skills, which is, I think, the most important thing, and becoming as close as you can to being your own version of the mentalist.
That's interesting, because I think the whole idea of street smarts isn't even something that people talk about anymore. They used to, this a decade ago, 2 decades ago, you'd hear people say, well, they don't have a degree from some college, some great university, but street smarts, this person is great. And I think that's it seems like that's the category of things that you're talking about, like their ability to understand what's happening around them and to be resourceful in the environment with people.
Yeah, and to pick up street smarts, I actually think it helps to hang out with the lower orders of society who have to kind of live by their wits, even though their wits may not be that sharp, otherwise they wouldn't be among the lower orders, but still, there's something to be said for that. And have I done much of that? Not as much as I wish I had, frankly. I mean, the times when I've jumped into the deep end here in the US were the 2 times when I got on a freight train in Colorado, and one time I rode the train over 3 days and nights to Sacramento, California, and the second time to Portland, Oregon. And in those 2-3 day trips, I had more adventures and met more wild and crazy people than I would in an ordinary year of just hanging around, God forbid, Aspen, Colorado, which is where I was at the moment.
Yeah, that's amazing. Tom Dyson is probably the modern model, I think, of somebody who's done this, who's really thrown himself deeply into this, and his whole family, in fact, thrown his whole family into the deep end with this for a long time. And you should just Google Tom Dyson and get on his, I don't know which, I can't remember what website you can find his stuff on, but he publishes there, and he's a remarkable human for sure. And he's got lots of these stories.
Yeah, he's British and very charming and disarming. And the stuff that he's doing with this family, running around the world and all that, he's a model in many ways. Okay, so supposing you've picked up these, and another thing I'd mention is sales. It's that when I learned to sell, and it is a real skill that it takes time to learn, I felt that it gave me more ability. It was more valuable than getting a PhD in psychology would, because it was practical and it was meaningful as opposed to academic and airy-fairy. So I'd say a job as a salesman is the way to fly. Selling intangibles, tangibles, intangibles, either one. I'd say that definitely part of everybody's education is learning to sell.
And people don't know what that means, though, Doug. When people think of selling, they think of like a car salesman or something like that. But when you think of selling, how would you describe it?
Well, that movie with Leo DiCaprio, The Wolf of Wall Street, Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So he used a device in there. The wolf takes a pen and hands it to somebody who wants to go to work for him. And he says, "Sell me this pen." And it was a test of how quickly the guy could think on his feet, how quickly he could analyze the good, strong points of this pen and why that person might want a pen and put it all together. So that's what being a practical psychologist is all about, finding out what you have to offer the other person and what the other person needs or thinks he needs.
Right, exactly. And I think that's the part that I think most people miss. I think people think of sales traditionally, they think, I have a product. My job is to get these people, to get them to buy it. And you could look at it that way, but that's the wrong way to look at it. It doesn't work very well. The better way of looking at it is how do I get in front of prospects, of people who have a certain set of needs that what I offer could actually help them legitimately solve a problem, legitimately make their life better, legitimately make them happier, whatever, because then all you're doing is you're helping people get what they want out of life. You're not trying to put something over on them. You're not trying to coerce them or manipulate them or, through clever technique, get them to buy something they never wanted to buy, but instead you're actually just helping them get more of what they already want. And the really successful salespeople, that's all they do. And that's why they're very careful about what product they'll sell, because they're like, I can't sell something that I can't think that I should have it. I don't think I could be a BMW car salesman because I like BMWs, because I could say, this is what I like, and this is why I like it, and this is why I prefer this over a Mercedes and whatever, but yeah. But it's really important to know.
And of course, to be an effective salesman, you really have to have a lot of technical knowledge, or you should, about your product so you can compare it to other things and not be glib, right, and so forth.
Right.
One interesting thing is Bibles. There used to be a lot of Bible salesmen in the U.S. And who could resist buying not just a little Bible, but a massive heirloom type of Bible, the type of thing where when there's a birth or a death in the family, you write it in the front of the Bible, and the government would take that as being adequate proof that the birth or death really occurred and stuff like that. And then there were encyclopedia salesmen that you weren't just trying to hustle somebody for some expensive books. You were selling all the knowledge of the world. It's very entertaining going door to door and knocking on the doors. And I've done this, and the reactions that people have. And
yep.
Being a salesman is you're on your way to being the mentalist if you can be a successful salesman.
I agree 100%. No one wants to do it, but I think if there is a job where you could be a door-to-door salesman for a few months, you should take it. I mean, you should try. If you're a young person, you should definitely take it. It will scare you. It'll make you nervous. It will make you very uncomfortable. Even after you've done it 100 times, you'll still feel a little tinge of nervousness when you go up and knock on the door. I guarantee it. I've done it. I definitely know that's how it feels. However, then you imagine you take those skills that you learn and you get dropped into Africa. What you've really learned is you've learned how to assess the needs of someone else, how to engage them in conversation where they want to continue the conversation. And then when appropriate, direct that conversation to a mutually beneficial outcome. Like that is universally useful.
Exactly. And you don't know where things might lead from there. I mean, after you make a sale to somebody, maybe it turns out you really like each other and one thing can lead to another. So very definitely. Question is what skill, what was it?
What's the best skill for general success? And then, if you're going to go to Africa, which one would you first try and pick up? Which skill?
It relates to what we've been talking about. And the answer, I think, is critical thinking, which is to say, analyze what is said or what is written or what is demonstrated. And critical thinking is the process of looking at it and determining what's true and what's not true, analyzing it, not just accepting it, being a professional skeptic. That's what I think it's all about, critical thinking. And that allows you to see things that other people don't see. And by seeing things that other people don't see, because they're not critical thinkers, it's going to open up opportunities that they won't see either.